My name is Benton Stokes. I'm a former fundamentalist, post-evangelical worship leader, and songwriter. I enjoy wry Manhattans, roller coasters, and road trips, just not all at the same time.
I'm Elaine O'Rourke, and I'm a teacher, an author, and a spiritual coach. I was a philosophy professor and a liberal pastor in a couple of former lives, and these days, I love aha moments and not-so-dry martinis.
We have conversations about life and God with a queer perspective, over cocktails, like you. This is Cocktail Theology. So our cocktail's a little something I whipped up.
What is it?
So I'm calling it Winter in Norfolk County.
Okay, I see where you're going.
Yeah, and so this is in appreciation of our good friend Evan, who we met through the podcast several years ago now. Evan lives in Ontario, specifically Norfolk County.
And you mean Ontario, Canada?
Yes.
Okay.
As a gift, he had given us some rum-infused maple syrup from Ontario.
And you're using
it. So I used it in this cocktail.
Okay, let me try it. I didn't know I could love Evan more than I do. And yet, now I do. So what's in it?
The capacity for love has grown.
That's right.
So it's the rum-infused maple syrup. It is some cooked down cranberry juice that you made a while ago. So it's kind of concentrated cranberry juice. So equal parts of those things. And then twice as much of these two ingredients. There's a 12-year rum that we discovered recently by Zaya.
I love that.
That's so good. And Elijah Craig bourbon.
This is spectacular.
Yeah, it's
I
really
highly
tasty.
recommend.
It's really tasty. Yeah. It's like a hug, kind of.
It is like a hug.
Yeah.
Like a hug going out to Evan or coming in from Evan.
Mm-hmm.
It's very nice.
It is.
And a perfect kind of image for this holiday season.
Indeed. So tonight we're talking about surviving and thriving during the holidays. We know the holidays can be a difficult time. Even if you don't hate your family, the holidays can be a difficult time. So we're just going to touch on, I think, some of the challenges that many of us face during the holidays and maybe some ways to address those.
Yeah. Let's expand our notion of holidays for a minute.
Okay.
Because there are plenty of people who don't celebrate Christmas who also have challenges in the holidays. So, for example, I'm thinking about Jehovah's Witnesses who don't celebrate Christmases, but maybe surrounded by people who do. Mm-hmm. And they have to juggle that kind of personal religious belief against a culture that screams you should be celebrating this.
Yes.
And it's a little different than our Jewish friends or our Muslim friends. They have their own thing that's going on, as opposed to Jehovah's Witnesses who are abstaining.
Right.
Right, which makes it harder. I'm thinking about, people who hate their families or who are estranged from their families and really wish they weren't.
Yeah, sure.
Thinking about people who this is the first holiday season after what it feels like a tragic event. The loss of somebody, the loss of a marriage, those kinds of things.
Sure.
I'm thinking about those of us who can feel guilty when given a gift or shameful when given a gift, or who don't have enough money to spend or feel like they don't or whatever. And I'm also just thinking about people who put out a lot of energy towards other people during the year, and the last thing they want to do is be around more people where they've got to put out more energy.
Yeah.
So there's a wide range of things that could make this season hard.
Absolutely, yes.
I don't feel competent to encounter all of them.
Right.
But I want to acknowledge that they're all there.
Yes.
Okay. So when you have had a difficult holiday season, what have you felt and what's been going on?
I think maybe the first really kind of difficult Christmas that I encountered was the one after my divorce. And in fact, the divorce wasn't even final at that point, but we had separated a few months before. And so it was the first Christmas where my kids were going to spend time with their mom and her side of the family, and then they were going to spend time separately with me and my side of the family.
And they were little, right?
They were like 12, 9, and 6, roughly.
Okay. Young enough that Christmas is a BFD.
Yes, definitely. Creating some new traditions for us was important. One thing that we enjoyed, the four of us, is these really garish light displays, And so I did some research and I found the neighborhoods that were really known for that. And so we would just do a drive. We'd go into the city. We'd go into like where the big mansions are, where people pay a lot of money to have their houses done. And then we would venture out into the country a little, and then we would end up in downtown Franklin, which is like this Rockwell Main Street downtown, especially at Christmas.
Yes.
And we would get hot chocolates at the Starbucks, and that's kind of where we would end our time.
I like that.
Oh, I almost forgot. Part of that was that we would get dinner at Dalt's. And Dalt's is like it's like a diner.
Okay.
It's like a kind of an upscale diner, but a diner.
Okay.
And the reason that I chose Dalt's is because I have a memory of when I was in college. We used to go to Dalt's a lot.
Okay.
And it was Christmas time. And I still am, a huge fan of Amy Grant, who, if you don't know, she was a Christian pop star back a while ago. But she's still performing, still
she
enjoy
is.
her a lot and her music. She and her husband pulled up to Dalt's in his truck with a Christmas tree in the back. And they came in and they sat down near us.
Okay.
And they had dinner.
And this was before the kids. This was college.
Yeah, this is when I was in college.
Okay.
Dalt's summons Christmas memories for me.
Okay.
So I wanted to make that a part of our tradition too.
Right. And Christmas memories that were not connected with your children's mother.
Yeah, Christmas memories
Right.
that went
So
all
they
the way
were
back
only-
to college.
And
right.
so only you.
They were just me, and I
Right.
got to share those memories with
Perfect.
my kids, which
Yep.
was great. So that kind of became our new tradition. So definitely, I think after a difficult life challenge or event, forming a new something. And it can be based in something way back there. Like, for instance, if you lost your grandmother, which I did lose my grandmother at Christmas time.
Yeah.
Maybe doing something that you know that she enjoyed, or doing something that reminds you of her, and making that a part of your Christmas traditions might be a nice way to commemorate her and also maybe ease some of the grief that you're facing and dealing with and feel closer to her, you know?
Yeah, those two different things that you came up with. So let's talk about the driving around with your kids. I love that for so many reasons. One is that it is that thread from you back to a younger you and a thread to your kids. But it's also something that one could do without a lot of money,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yes.
And a 6-year-old and a 12-year-old would have very different experiences of it, but they could both potentially enjoy it.
Yeah.
It lends itself to goofiness,
It definitely does.
and goofiness is helpful.
yeah.
Okay, so I like all of those a lot. And then you mentioned the doing something that the person you've lost enjoyed or whatever. I think it's a great idea. And it can be more of a catalyst towards healthy grief
Yeah. For
rather
sure.
than a leaving alone of grief,
Right.
right? So it could work either way, you know?
Right, because I can imagine going through the holidays and feeling like you just have to turn that off because
Yep.
you have to be on for everybody else.
Yep.
And you have to attend all the parties and you have to wrap all the gifts and all the things. But it may be if you could make like you're saying, a healthy acknowledgement of what you're
That's right.
facing and dealing with and bring that into your holiday experience.
Yeah.
And it can become something that you do year after year even. I think that could be incredibly healthy. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. When I officiate weddings, one of the things I ask is there anyone who can't be here because they've passed on or are just too far away, who you'd like to have here via a picture or something,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So that might be another way to go about that kind
Love
of
that, yeah.
Okay, I like that. So yeah, so interestingly, of course, you know, last Christmas was my first Christmas not with my husband and child. And that was rough.
Yeah.
And I will say that he was very gracious about, because it was his year to have her. He was very gracious about my coming over and spending some time. So I know what you're saying about that whole kind of how do you navigate that? And particularly Christmas is it can be such a family-centered thing that if family is difficult, and that goes for all of the other things.
Oh, yeah.
It's really rough to reconceive it.
It is.
To reconceptualize it.
It is.
So one of the things that one could do, and this would actually, I think, work for people whose professions are taking care of other people, for example. One thing that one could do is set up the times to be with people not on Christmas Day, and then spend Christmas Day doing things one enjoys doing.
Yeah.
Right? There's a difference between loneliness and solitude, right? If one is craving solitude or craving a change in the routine, a break in the routine, that can be one of those ways to do that.
Right. Yeah.
So you still see the people you love, but you don't make Christmas itself so fraught that you can't enjoy it because it just feels so icky.
Definitely.
So that's an option.
Yeah, I like that.
I think that it is always helpful if one is uncomfortable with or grieving or whatever, but is not looking forward to the holidays, to figure out what it is, what's going on. So I was one of those people that I mentioned earlier where I could spend thousands of dollars on gifts, but getting a gift made me just feel guilty and shameful and terrible, right?
Yeah.
Once I recognized that and like could honestly go, oh, that's what's going on right now. That's why I hate doing the exchange of gifts. Then I could start to address it in myself. Like, okay, so what's causing that? Is that a feeling that makes sense in this context, or is it an old feeling? Just that kind of stuff, so you can start to parse it out a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
You know, there may be a number of our listeners who came up in a culture where Christmas was a big deal, very religious, lots of events, and they don't know if they buy into the whole Christmas thing anyway.
Yeah.
At this point. So again, finding ways to think about what you're going through can be helpful. So watching a movie where they totally, crap on Christmas can be kind of purging, right? And it may cause grief, and that's okay. It may make you really mad, and that's okay. But reframing what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
One of our listeners a couple years ago who was going through some of this did kind of a pagan, very, very loosely pagan celebration.
Okay.
So appreciating the fact of the tree coming in. Like really think about the tree as a symbol of nature and life, and rather than decorating it to be something else.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So doing stuff like that, growing amaryllis, that kind of thing. But looking for those things that you already enjoy.
I like that.
Okay. So what do you do? I don't know if you have this problem, but most of us have this problem. What do you do if you have to spend Christmas with people you'd really rather not spend really any time with at all, but particularly not Christmas? What do you think?
I would say minimize the time as much as possible. Like, for instance, if the family is out of town, instead of staying with the family, maybe get your own place, get an Airbnb or a hotel room so that you know that you don't have to be there 24/7 for the entire time you're there.
Yeah.
If it's just showing up for dinner, maybe show up a tiny bit late and leave a tiny bit early. Know the people that push your buttons and already have a plan for how you're going to have conversations with those people, how you're going to exit conversations with those people if it gets difficult.
Yep.
And have the people in the room that you know you can go to and feel better.
Yes.
If you have that one aunt that drives you nuts, but you have this other aunt that's funny and hilarious.
Right.
Just know how you're going to exit Aunt B.
Right.
And how you're going to enjoy Aunt Janice.
Right. Right.
And I think going in with some of those ideas already is great. And also, like, around food can be a difficult thing too. Like if you're a vegetarian and you know that everything's going to be meat centered, or if you're trying to lose weight and there's just all this food everywhere, and it can just really, it can be really difficult to enjoy an event like that when it's so food centric and everybody is eating.
Particularly if you have food disorders as well.
Exactly.
Like I went through long years of bulimia and anorexia,
Right.
and that made it extra hard.
Right.
Yeah. And with that theme of making a plan, if you're in recovery in a 12-step program or just in recovery, making a plan for how you will manage those situations, including exactly what meetings you'll go to, exactly when you'll talk to your sponsor, exactly those things. So you have that plan, write it out, make sure it's in front of you, so it's an anchor for you as you go through the holiday.
So important. Yeah. So I think going in with a plan is good. And if it's something that you just really don't want to go to, don't go.
The holidays are a great time to learn how to say no.
Yeah.
And to deal with the consequences of saying no, because it is hard to say no. It is hard to put up boundaries. It's hard to stand up for what you need in a gentle, loving way.
Yes.
Because I always encourage that. But it is a great time to learn how to do it, because if you can do it then without being obnoxious and horrible, you can do it anytime.
It's true.
So I think that's good. I like the idea of having a plan. I think that's an important piece of this.
Yeah.
Because the people who push your buttons are going to continue to push your buttons.
Yes.
And if you plan for them to do that and they don't, what a wonderful gift.
Right. Yeah.
But if you have a plan, that's good. I would also encourage people to not drink.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Not get high, not drink. Because it can feel like a relief, but it can also tweak your experience of something in a way that doesn't help you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's not like it's morally bad. It's not like you're going to act out. It's none of those things.
Right.
But that reshaping of your brain chemistry as you are trying to engage in something difficult is not necessarily a great thing to do.
You're right. It's not.
So I would encourage that. Exercise is good. Any kind of exercise is always good to help burn off some of that energy that you've got. I love a long bath anyway. Everyone knows this. I love a long bath. But when holidays have been difficult, the bathtub with water in it, not wine in it, has been a really great place for me to let loose of all that emotion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then also enjoy the water, enjoy the, all those things. It's not going to be a bubble bath with rubber duckies necessarily,
Right.
but it's something that can help you with that. So figure out what those things are that are sense fulfilling, that are good for you, and think about adding those into the routine.
I like that.
Another thing you could do is, if you've got to face something difficult, is to also plan something that you know you will enjoy in parallel to that.
Yeah.
So if you've got to go visit with Aunt B, poor Aunt B,
Gotta love her.
I mean, the problem with her being a conspiracy theorist already, it's like, anyway, but if you have to go visit Aunt B, plan on going to see whatever the latest non-romantic or whatever movie is, right? Like, make that plan so you're bracketing.
I love that.
Bracketing is always a good way of dealing with difficult things. It's like when you work for a large corporation and they do I've forgotten what it's called, but
the
it's
compliment sandwich.
Yes. Wow, you look great today. You're fired. Hope you have a great holiday. Yeah, that thing. But you can do it for self-care.
Yes, you can.
And that's a great thing for
I
self-care.
love that idea.
I will say that when I'd been out of the church for so long and was going through very difficult relationship stuff, going to the late night Christmas service was very helpful, because it was formal, which was nice. Didn't have to think about it. And quiet-ish and reverent. And even if I didn't believe anything that was happening, it had a very, very clear rhythm, very ancient words. People do not slap happy each other in those services. So it's it has a sense of solitude to it.
Yeah.
I found that a very helpful thing. And then coming out into the middle of the night just kind of helped me remember the idea of Christmas being hope, even if I didn't experience the Jesus-y bits.
I love that. Get an Advent calendar or light a candle every day during Advent and say a prayer for someone.
Nice.
Things that don't have to be, if you are a religious or spiritual person, by all means, delve into the practices and do the thing.
Sure.
But if you're not, it may be a good way for you to sort of reframe the holiday as a holy day. And then you can kind of think of it more in those terms rather than all of the quote-unquote secular aspects of Christmas, the gifts, the Santa Claus, and all that. Maybe going into your spirit more, being intentional about that, might make the holidays different and more interesting, more tolerable, better for you.
Yeah. I like the language of holy day, because you don't have to go to a church service to make it a holy day. And my guess is a number of our listeners, that's the way that they were taught to express their religious connection, was to go to a building with people.
Right.
As opposed to discovering the holiness in their own space.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Well, I think all those are great ideas. Listeners, we love to hear from you. We always love to hear from you. Cocktailtheology.com is where we are. If the holidays are difficult for you this year, know that you are not alone.
Right.
Because lots of us deal with all kinds of emotions during the holidays.
Yes.
If you have difficult family relationships and you know that you're going to be in those situations, or this is your year to pull away from those situations, our thoughts and prayers are with you. That stuff is hard.
Yeah.
It just is. But I do think that really thinking through what is going to bring you some peace in the midst of what might be a turbulent season for you. At the very least, it's a busy and expensive season for most people. If that's what you're dealing with, then I think doing whatever you can to find some peace is going to be important. I think it's important for all of us to do that.
Sure. For sure.
So cocktailtheology.com is where we are. We love to hear from you. And we do wish you a very happy holiday season wherever you are and whatever you're facing. Till next time.
Funny how the view can change, how life just seems to rearrange itself, no matter what it was. I don't know how it goes, but look, moving on feels pretty good. Moving on feels pretty good.
If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a like and hit subscribe wherever you're listening right now. We welcome your comments, questions, and ideas for conversations and for cocktails. Please get in touch with us at our website, cocktailtheology.com. Cocktail Theology is a production of SFS. Our theme song is Moving On Feels Pretty Good, recorded by yours truly, Benton Stokes. You can find my music wherever you stream your favorite artists. Join us next Thursday for another new episode.